Welcome to Marvel Maniac, an MCU after show. This is your host, Eric Cicada, aka Mr. Honest. Happy holidays. It's great to have you here for our first episode coverage of Marvel's What If Season 3. Now, this may very well, and I think for now, currently, is the last season. I believe if over the years a true fan base rises out, we'll get the show back. However, it seems that after this show ends, they want to start tying little knots and bows around the multiverse saga, right? And this movie show to me gives so many good ideas. And in this episode alone, we get to see like the newer Avengers come together for the first time, and the chemistry is great. Like there's Moon Knight, Shang-Chi. I'm sorry, I always say his name wrong. There's the Red Guardian with Yelena. The main group of heroes died, and we're going to get into that, obviously. But this show really takes you on an emotional journey of friendship and redemption. And I really enjoyed it as our first episode of season 3. I love the beginning of this episode. It's like an 80s version of the Avengers, and they were in mechs fighting a giant Hulk. It's like the show predicted in the universe exactly what was going to happen somehow. I didn't know who the girl was at the beginning. I thought maybe a young Monica Rambeau. Not positive. It didn't really make that super clear. It could have just been any kid. Sometimes I have a hard time seeing the actors like through the animation. What I sometimes notice about this show, aside from its awesome storytelling and very unique different sides of the MCU we get to kind of play around with, I really love how they can mix certain movies together and kind of like replace. Like, I really like the fact that for whatever reason Bruce Banner was in the same position as Steve Rogers to meet Sam Wilson, running the same track on your left. That same phrase becomes just as special between Sam and Bruce, showing how they have a deeper connection in this universe, and they technically become really good friends. Because Sam, if you remember in Winter Soldier, he was holding counseling sessions and was doing therapy for veterans. And in a way, Bruce Banner is kind of a veteran for fighting wars against aliens. I mean, at this point, the first Avengers must have happened. So they become friends, and very quickly we get to a part where they're on a nice little boat trip together, and there's a storm that came brew. I don't know if people say that, and it knocked Bruce back, and he turned into the Hulk on the ship. He really didn't cause much destruction, but I think even deeper inside this version of Bruce, when he becomes the Hulk, he's so dang ashamed of it. He's so self-aware of how scary it is and how much drama he puts people through. I really feel for Bruce in this episode. He must have been really embarrassed to turn into the Hulk on a boat with Sam, and he left the boat. So Bruce is still in there. He goes back to his lab and decides, let's do an experiment. Let's try and get the Hulk out of me again. I don't know what he conjured up to do this. I don't know if he's planning this in this universe, but he puts all this gamma radiation into him, like more of it. So I don't know how that's going to help. And out of him formed a new monster, a new Apex, they'll call it later, because we don't know how far this thing goes. A lot happens. This episode spans across 10 years. This created a huge global war against these monsters, because what this monster could do is create separate monsters like off of his back. Like, he is always creating newer monsters. So our Avengers, the original OG Avengers, this is the one part that I was like, why are they using still images? Is the whole show going to be like this? Are they on a lower budget than last season? And I remember, no, just some parts of the episodes, they do have like a recap section. And the recap little section they had was when this monster came out of Bruce, they assembled. Tony had the idea of making Mech Avengers, and they all go and start to fight. and they all lose, all of our original Avengers. And each mecha I love in this episode is based off the character, like Captain America, Iron Man. My favorite later, we get to see Moon Knight. I love seeing the new Avengers together. Shuri, Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi's a mecha, and later in the episode, dude, it has a version of the Ten Rings. This is a good sign to me. It seems like the people who are making this show are very self-aware that they're making the new Avengers first appearance here. And it's subtle, but it's like kind of like to test the waters, to mess around with the characters, to see how they could and would interact. And I like it. I want more. I cannot wait for the Avengers Doomsday. I think it's time to assemble. But we're here now talking about what if, so it does take us down many paths of the multiverse. However, we must stay in this one to seek out the rest of the story. So our OG Avengers die, our new Avengers learn. Eventually, they clear what they think is the whole earth of these things, and the Avengers are tighter than ever. First, I definitely was wondering if this new Hulk that was taken from Banner was like the essence of the original Hulk, like in Banner, and I wasn't sure if he was going to be able to transform again. However, this more or less duplicated all the negative sides of his energy and created a completely separate mega monster, just spawned off of him. So he's kind of like his dad in a way, which is definitely not brought up. We get a freaking 10 years later in this episode, and that's when we find out that they were able to defeat all of them. So they thought, all of the monsters. So they thought. And we get to see like an Avengers meeting with Monica Rambeau kind of being the right-hand lady to Captain America. Love that. Love seeing these characters together. Then there are all these other newer Avengers on the screen. Like they're all in touch. Moon Knight, Shang-Chi, Shuri, Yelena, and Red Guardian, who I think has another episode coming up this season. I hope that this episode / this season had a little more Kevin Feige's hand in it to give us some exploration of certain character dynamics that could really work on screen. And I know it was Mark Ruffalo, and forgive me for not reading the credits. You know, I'm like taking notes, so I kind of like didn't read the credits. However, I do believe that a lot of the voice actors come back for these, and that makes it so important to me. I mean, I know for 100% that was Ruffalo. I'm 80% sure that was Anthony Mackie. The others, I'm not positive. Like Oscar Isaac as Moon Knight, I don't know. I'm glad we don't get Moon Knight spoilers. However, we do know that eventually he will join the Avengers. He seems to be destined to, which, where else would he go? I don't know. A place like the Midnight Suns, more supernatural type villains and heroes, but that's not where we're at yet in Marvel, and we do have Moon Knight, and he can kind of lead us into that area. We're supposed to get a Moon Knight movie. I'm sorry to keep talking about Moon Knight. We're covering it, and we're skipping this week. A week from Wednesday, we will have episode 4 premiere, and we're having a great time just rewatching it week by week. Before we get back into it, I want to remind you guys that if you rate and give good feedback on the show, please post it on your preferred platform. Positive review of anything you could do will go a long way. If you have something to criticize, you can email me, MarvelManiacPod@gmail.com. It would go a long way. First, I'll definitely hear you out. I don't want to get buried by bad reviews. I'm definitely someone who likes to improve his craft, what he's doing, not talking in the third person. And yeah, so MarvelManiacPod@gmail.com. We also have a tip jar in the section where you can read about the description, and that's not necessary, always appreciated. And let's get back into this episode. The thing I really like about this episode is seeing Sam be a true Captain America. Like, I hear it in his voice, I see it in his stature. I love that. I sent the word of the day dynamic. I love that dynamic. So now, the 10 years later, Avengers are realizing that the apex predator head monster has returned, and the forecast is 3 times worse than last time. And that is very scary because they barely were able to take them out. Like I said, it wiped out our original Avengers. And Monica's first instinct is for Sam to call Bruce for help. And Sam is so hesitant, and he doesn't want to really, because in Sam's own words, he started this whole thing. It was a hard time for Sam to think that he took Bruce under his care, and even though it was out of Bruce's control, it's hurtful. It's very sad, and he feels abandoned by his friend. He feels burdened by him, and he doesn't know what to say to him. And I like that. It adds definitely a layer of drama to the whole episode, which does make for a bit more of a powerful ending. So Sam actually does go in to find Bruce. He needs Bruce, and he's isolated himself on an island, and he does not want to become the Hulk again. He is done with that life. It's been years for him, and Sam needs him to come back, and he says no. He doesn't want to come back, but he does give Sam something very, very valuable. It's called the Mighty Avengers Protocol. And like it even widens Sam's eyes. And he's like, you can't come and help fight. You can only give me this. And Bruce, this is kind of like the first Avengers, except Bruce didn't bow out of the fight. But he stayed back. He didn't want to go to the fight. He later does show up to save the day, as we know, like not long from now. But we got to see that protocol, which combines everyone's mecha into giant mech Avenger Prime. And the fighting in this episode is so sick. Like the action scenes, I'm so glad we didn't get like still images the whole episode. I was a little scared like the show lost its budget or something. I don't know, because they show the first Avengers getting defeated in like still frames, but not at the end of the episode. There's full on mecha fighting going on. This new Avengers, Mighty Avengers Protocol doesn't really work out for them. In this case, they all get knocked down on their backs and can't get back up. Thankfully, someone came back and transformed himself into the ultimate version of the Hulk we've ever seen. Bruce Banner comes to fight this freaking giant kaiju monster thing. And all the other they're not little, but all the other monsters surround him. And it said that he's trying to become the new Apex. So if Bruce wins the battle, all of the I keep calling him little, all of his giant army will be his. And that's exactly what happens. Sam gave him a hand, literally. The fist flew out and punched the mecha in the face. I keep calling him mecha like mecha, because they call him the Apex. But that gives Bruce the chance to fight and finish this thing. And there's a couple of options he has here. First is he walks straight up to the other Avengers, and it looks like he's about to just literally take over. And even Moon Knight's like, Khonshu says to fire away, man. I love that. And Sam said no, and he gets out of the giant mech, and he walks straight up to the giant Hulk and looks him in the eye and say, Bruce, it's me, and don't do this. And instead of powering down, Bruce actually in there, whether it's the monster or Bruce, made the sacrificial decision to lead all the other monsters back into the ocean and to save the world. I didn't mention that Bruce also dropped a giant gamma bomb, and that kind of helped him create into the giant Hulk. And also, I almost forgot, the On Your Left comes back. Oh my gosh, it's Bruce saying it to Sam, and I love that. I don't think it takes away from the original. I can imagine some hardcore people being like, why can't they make it an original thing? It's because it's a multiverse. Like, so similar things happen and mirror each other, and those little subtleties are just what the show needs, I believe. That's definitely an embodiment of the multiverse. This version of the Hulk can actually beam, have a giant laser beam on him out of his mouth, which is really cool. I really like the big fight between the kaiju and our Hulk, and I like Hulk becoming a hero, and he sacrifices himself. Hero sacrifice, there's never anything like it. And I think Hulk's snap in Avengers Endgame is a little overlooked because of everything that happens afterwards, but he is the one that snapped everyone back to life. It's good to get Hulk. It's good to get a Hulk story. It's good to hear Ruffalo. It's awesome to see the Avengers together. We see the Watcher, and as he's traveling into the ocean to take all the other monsters away, Monica says, I know he was your friend, and Sam replies, he still is. So Sam is actually has a lot of resolve from this, really respects Bruce for taking the L for the world and for the Avengers. And yeah, he'll still be out there lurking, but I think they're safe for the very far future from this threat, I'd like to think. The Watcher reminding us that big things have small beginnings. even the way a person sees themselves, he says, can change their lives and the fate of the entire world. Sometimes the greatest heroes are the friends that accept us for who we really are. Shows that all the creatures walking up to an island, and on top of the island on a rock throne is the giant, mega, crazy, scary Super Hulk, which I hope we get some variation of in the movies and stuff. And yeah, he is just, at least he's not underwater. I'm glad he found a little island for himself. Yeah, and that's our episode. That's where we end the first episode of What If Season 3. What if the Mech Avengers fought the Hulk? Or something along the lines of that. This was an insanely fun episode. I saw someone comment, like, on Twitter or something, whatever. They were like, oh, so unoriginal. Like, oh my gosh. This show is super original. They're grabbing from so much material and they're fan servicing, and if you didn't like it, that's your opinion. That's okay. I'm probably going to be mostly positive. I want to stay positive about the whole season. So if you're like hoping for some like strong criticism, I'm not going to do it. I told you the part with the slow freeze frame Avengers in the beginning. I just wanted to see them fight, but I'm grateful that they didn't take out full fights. You know, they still have the budget to make cool, big fights for the episode. So this was a banger to start. I'd love to hear your feedback. MarvelManiacPod@gmail.com. Like I said, we got the tip jar, never necessary, always appreciated. That's my favorite way of saying it. And I'm really excited that this is the first of whole 8 episodes. We have a whole week of this. So I'll see you tomorrow. I don't know which one's next. I guess we'll leave it for a little surprise. But I'll see you tomorrow for the next episode, episode 2, season 3 of What If. And until then, Avengers, disassemble.